That's
And we're coming in cold today. Coming in nice cold. I feel like the Iceman from Maverick or from Top Gun. I don't know.
Yeah, with last week's topics and dates. So, it's one of those things. Just to let you know, it is March the 5th.
Did I put the? Oh, I did. Okay,
You did.
Wait a second. Hey, no, see, you guys distracted me beforehand. I got it ready. It's here. I got it.
It's kind of a rehash. It was a rehash.
There it is.
Oh, there we go. Okay, now great.
That's what we'll cover. See,
penny for your thoughts, or better yet, Columbia House. A penny for how many records was that?
It was 8, 9. It was 8. I don't know. This is going to be fun because I love having this conversation with people about Columbia House. And welcome to the KZ106 Happy Hour. Feel free to drop a comment, tell us hi, comment on what we're talking about. Let us know what's happening in your world or in your neck of the woods, as they would say on the. What was that? That was who was that? Would always say that in your neck of the woods. Down Rooker, I think. Anyway,
I said so.
This is always fun to me, and I don't know how I ran across this the other day, but it got me thinking. Columbia House. Okay, first of all, raise your hand if you took part in Columbia House Records music.
They got me. Yeah, they got me. I said no. I said no. And then one time I said yes.
Did you feel scammed to begin with? Did you feel like it was a scam, or did you feel like it's legit?
I'll be honest with you. Columbia House taught me 2 very important lessons in life. Number 1 being, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And number 2, read the dang fine print. So
all I can see is 1 penny. I saw that penny.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, I remember clearly opening up like a Parade magazine, and every week there would be one sitting there, and the temptation of like, okay, what's on the list this week? What can I get? Oh, okay. And I will say, the thing with Columbia House is, and they knew it. I would love to talk to a Columbia House like CEO or whoever was running the muckety mucks at that point in time to know exactly what was going on in their world, like what they knew and what they didn't know. Because it's like Netflix nowadays, where you share your password. There are a lot of people that didn't pay Columbia House. There are a lot of people that put in fake names and walked away with 8 or 10 discs every few months. I don't know, how many people were doing that? Did they know it? Did they have like a percentage? Did they have a knowledge of that at that point in time?
I said probably no. See, I was not smart enough at that time to think of putting in a fake name. Either that or I was just too honest. I gave him my real name and it was just like, I'm hooked. So,
well, I mean, but I don't remember. Would they ding your credit if you didn't pay them at that point in time? I can't remember, to be honest. I was a little young at that point in time. I do remember filling out.
I didn't have credit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't either at that point in time. So I didn't care. I was like, I'm under 18. What are they going to do to me at this point in time? I'm just taking my CDs and, running. Yeah. But it was an interesting experience because you would get the card and you'd fill out those 8 and you would get them, that first big box, have so many in it. You'd be so excited. And then, like, of course, they get the card that comes every month. And the thing that I do remember is when you would sign up, you would have to send that card back. And if you didn't send it back in time, you got stuck with whatever they were sending you that month.
Yep.
So I think that's how I will be honest. That's how I ended up with a Who Greatest Hits CD when I was like 13. No idea really who the Who was at that point in time. I was still in my Bon Jovi and Janet Jackson and whatever phase. And so I've got that. I still have that CD though. So hey, thanks to Columbia House for turning me onto the Who.
How long has Columbia House been gone? It's no more, right? It ended a long time ago, I suppose.
Yeah, the service ended. I think they're like online still with name only. Basically, I think it's ColumbiaHouse.com. I think if you go there, they're still there, but it's like DVDs or other things that they're doing. They're not doing the actual Columbia House service like they were anymore.
I think actually, I don't know which. It wasn't a K-tel. It was, almost sounds like the original. They got me on one of those.
Yeah, I got a few of those. Yeah.
I listen to it. I go, man, that doesn't seem like that's not the right song. I don't think
it's not what I'm hearing on the radio.
And it's funny when you get those. It's like it's just so close, but it's just off just enough. Your ear goes, That doesn't seem quite right. Jason got hooked on Beck and Loser. To be honest, I love that CD. I would happily take that one for free. The other thing with Columbia House though is like, and Scott would know this a little bit better than I would, but I had never heard of Terre Haute, Indiana until I moved to Evansville, Indiana, which is just an hour and a half down the road. But Terre Haute was where you would have to send your checks for Columbia House every month. Would go to Terre Haute, Indiana. It was the most random place. I thought as a kid in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I'm sitting there going, where the heck is this Terry Howdy, Indiana thing?
It's just right up the road. Right, we're Indiana State's there. I mean,
the Sycamores.
Yeah.
But
I had not thought about that, but since you brought that up, I remember Terre Haute being on that return address. How about that? That's crazy.
Of all the places, I just said that, and this is funny, and I don't know if you got this experience, and Kelly, you've been around enough people from this area, but I always seem to run into people from Southern Indiana all the dang time. And it's like, where in the world are you people from? And how many people escaped Southern Indiana? Because everybody outside, it's like, I run into them in places outside of Southern Indiana, and they're like, oh yeah, I know, I'm from Evansville. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Two places. Indiana, the radio station is just filthy with people from Indiana. I mean, my gosh, it was like Indiana was the farm team for Chattanooga, Tennessee for a long time. It's there in Michigan. We've talked about it before. I don't know how many people are moving here from everywhere, but Michigan has got to be in the top run somewhere. Yeah. 2, 3, 4, I would think.
Yeah, that's always fun. I mean, moving south, why would you want to live in the snow like that anyway? But the Columbia House records, I don't know. Those are always fun. I enjoyed the surprise that you would get every time a Columbia House record showed up. They went back to I think they even did 8 tracks at one point in time. So I think it started early on. So you have a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, I guarantee I have a handful of CDs that are still Columbia House records prints. Let's see. There used to be a tree growing out of the courthouse in Terre. Thank you, Jason. That is an extremely random thought that I would have never known. I also know that Terre Haute has an odd smell to it as well. That's one thing I do know. It's that's like a bit of it smells a little bit like it does down from the radio station in Terre Haute.
Really?
Just saying. I don't know. Jason might know that as a sir.
Cool thing popped up on speaking of Indiana in Evansville, Indiana. I worked at a radio station, the first big whopping AM top 40 flame-throwing radio station, where Buddy Scott worked there a long time ago, and I become Facebook friends with him, as Facebook does. People I haven't seen for 40 years, and suddenly now he put a picture of some moon pies up there the other day. He now lives in Chicago. I go, dude. I drive by the Chattanooga bakery where they make these every or have not lately as much, but certainly for 35 years. And he's like, I'm like, how about that? How isn't that funny how things are in the air like that? He loves the chocolate covered moon pie was his favorite.
The OG, the original.
Yeah,
go with that. Although it did say they dropped a lemon moon pie the other day, and I may have to go make a run to the store to grab the lemon moon pie. All right, more important topics of the day, as important and as fun as as fun as Columbia House is. I brought this to our Facebook page the other day because I thought this was fun. I was sitting around having just a conversation. We were listening to music in the house, and Aerosmith came up, and kind of, I think it was some of the 80s Aerosmith that came on. I was like, whatever song it was, I was like, that's not even a top 5 Aerosmith song for me. So I started thinking of what the top 5 Aerosmith songs for me would be. And we've hit this before on the happy hours. I'm about a generation behind you guys, a decade behind you guys. So the 80s stuff is really big for me with Aerosmith. But the 70s stuff still has this coolness factor to it and a cool value. So my top 5 that I've got are Chip Away at the Stone, Hangman Jury. If you can't tell, obviously Permanent Vacation is clearly an important album for me with Aerosmith. Hangman Jury, Seasons of Wither, Sweet Emotion, and Mama Ken are my 5 Aerosmith songs.
That's a good group. Nice grouping there, buddy. Nice grouping.
I like to spread it out. Got to go across the decades. The only thing I didn't include was a few 90s songs, which there are a couple of Aerosmiths from the 90s that I do love. Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you on Chip Away. I had that on my list too.
I knew you would.
Scott,
I knew you would.
Yeah. And you know what the next one is too, Scott, don't you?
I do. For sure I do.
No more.
Yep.
Toys in the Attic for me. I love Last Child. And just for sentimental value, I would have to throw Dream On there just because it still blows my mind that he wrote that when he was 17 years old, and we are still playing it today in heavy rotation. And it's still just such a meaningful and, it's just as, poignant today as it was then. And man, when you think back, what were you doing when you were 17?
Not getting dates would be the answer. Not getting dates would be the answer to that question.
Man, well, it wouldn't be writing an anthem,
two on my list. I mean, I would agree with you on Dream On. Dream On, I've had Train Kept Rolling on there too, because I just absolutely love that song.
Yep.
No More, No More on there as well. From there, I Pink, kind of like that tune, man. You don't hear it much, but I always like that tune.
Really? Okay.
I just feel like Jaded too. Yeah.
Jaded's not bad. Pink, I always feel like it was just he picked up a thesaurus one day in a rhyming dictionary and just said, Pink, what can I rhyme with it? And just is like, this is how I'm writing the song today. So that's what I always think of when I think of Pink.
And what's the Bo Poppy one he did that was such a massive hit that Aerosmith did?
Oh,
the Armageddon song?
Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Wow. It sounded like I never did like this.
I worked at a radio station down the road a few years back, and it was a classic rock station, and they insisted on playing that song, and I was like, okay, I get it, fine. And it was like, it tests well, it always tests, and of course it's going to test. It's a super popular song, but it's not a classic rock song, and it's just to this day. And if you guys put it on the air one day, I'm just so help me if it falls on my show one day, I'm going to come at you. But I have a strong feeling that is not a classic rock song.
We played it when it came out. We played it a few times just because of who it was. But it kind of came and went fairly quickly, as I recall. Although it's very popular.
Oh my gosh, massively popular song, just hugely popular.
It's an Aerosmith song.
What the inspiration was behind it? And no, Steven Tyler did not write it. It was actually, I think, on maybe a 2020 interview, maybe with Barbara Walters, with Barbara Streisand. And she was talking about her then fiance, James Brolin. And they were talking, she was gushing about how in love they were, and said that he had made the comment to her, I don't want to fall asleep. And she said, well, why not? And he said, I don't want to miss a thing.
Oh, man.
And the song, I can't.
That a Diane Warren song?
Yeah, thank you. I remembered Warren. I couldn't think of her first name, but she saw that interview, and so she immediately scribbled down that line, and then the song was written after that.
The interview with Baba Wawa.
That's it. And Baba Streisand.
Jason just said "Dream On." I always forget about Big 10-inch, and I do love that song.
I do too.
Yep.
I do too.
One of those wears maybe a little bit quicker, but I do love.
Yeah, Mama Ken, I agree with that one too.
I love Dude Looks Like a Lady, man. How many great songs that's the other thing. My gosh, how many great records has Aerosmith put together?
And how do you narrow it down to 5?
Yeah, that's what I love about this practice is it's impossible to do, and everybody's going to have at least 3 different songs. There's no way. Okay, you might say somebody's going to match up Dream On and maybe some of the bigger ones, but Sweet Emotion, but mostly you're going to have like 3 or 4 different songs in each top 5, much like we did. I mean, I don't think, Kelly and I matched 2, I think. Scott and I, Kelly, I mean, it's,
Crazy. I like Crazy too. I always have like that too.
It
reminds me of Kelly when I hear it.
Interesting. So let's see. So just scrolling through. So as you can see, this is out there. So Felicia put Crying, Hole in My Soul.
Crying, man. Hole in My Soul. I love that tune too, man. I love that.
An overlooked one. That's an overlooked one. Annie just says play them all equally. Just play them.
Amazing.
Lord of the Thighs. You can't go wrong. David says Lord of the
Living
Thighs.
on the Edge. I like that one.
Yeah, me too. There's so many.
That is another great one. That's a good.
Draw the Line. Man, I love Draw the Line.
Nobody's Fault. I mean, Deuces Are Wild. Last Child's one that a lot of people mentioned on Facebook too. I love this. Jan just starts going off. She's like, I don't care. I'm just going to skip your top 5 and start listing my favorite. Like 20 of them. Uncle Salty going deep, and Adam's Apple. So there's a few from Facebook. You can check that out there on Facebook. Drop your comments there or let us know what's here. Let's see. Chris says the other side was always a person. Okay. Other Side actually is the song that got this conversation going the other night. I remember. Thank you, Chris. You just reminded me what song it was that was playing when I kind of started thinking about this. So Other Side, I love that stuff from the late 80s and 90s Aerosmith. I think it's really underrated. Yeah. So for some reason, it just didn't quite have the legs of some of the other stuff. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. Some not as good, but there's certainly a lot of strong songs.
Yep.
I mean, hard to argue with Aerosmith at any point in time.
What a band! What a great band too. Met those guys. Met them a bunch of times. I mean, and I've said on this forum, as a matter of fact, probably the best backstage meet and greet of any band that I've ever seen backstage. They love their fans and they take care of their fans when they're backstage, and they meet them and they look them in the eye and they shake their hand and they sign stuff and take pictures. Well done by the whole band.
That says a lot too, especially with everything that they've been throughout the years. And we know that rock stars as a whole can get spoiled and get, at some point in time when you've done meet and greets for 30 plus years, for the rock star, for that star themselves, that's got to be just, okay, here we go, do another one. Let's go shake more hands. And as much as they appreciate the fans, I'm sure they do, but that process over and over and over again for 30 or 40 years just has to be so draining. So to be able to kind of keep that going and that joy and that excitement, whether you're benefiting financially as bands like Kiss are at this point in time, or if you just enjoy the process itself, that's weird things.
There is an energy that I believe is created from people that meet their fans. I mean, I was at the whatever those groceries are, the Walmart over here in East Ridge on Ringo, the whatever they're called, the little grocery
neighborhood market.
Exactly.
Neighborhood market.
Yeah, and so I was looking at a guy, and he was kind of looking at me, and he walks up and goes, "Man, I just love listening to you on the radio. I just wanted to tell you, I work for the sheriff's department. I saw you over there, and I was thinking, but it made me feel so good. It gave me this great feeling that what we do out there is people. It lands with folks sometimes, and that's good. So I can understand the energy also that's created from people and their fans. Certainly on a level somewhere." Going down. I missed that, by the way. I love the elevator. I miss playing the little preface on that too. I love that little. Yeah, but I appreciate my fans. I know you guys do too. And
absolutely,
you get Kelly McCoy out, man, and she will draw a crowd. I've seen it happen over and over and over. People they love you, man. They really do. And
it's those 20s I've got, back pocket.
I've said many times, I just walk into stores and ask for the Kelly McCoy discount, and usually they just throw money at it.
Next thing you know.
It's amazing how that process works. It's just continues to this day. Tried it the first thing I got to town and continues to work. All right, so there's our Aerosmith songs. Maybe we'll do this again each in a handful of weeks as we move through, grab some artists and pull some top 5 songs. That's kind of a fun conversation to do.
Next time, Ram Jam. We'll do Ram Jam next.
That's I was gonna say Golden Earring. Quiet Riot for Kelly. But anyway, so the next topic is 1995, and Yahoo goes live online. Back in 1995. Do you remember? Okay, we all remember the dial-up. We all remember the ping. But do you remember kind of what you were doing online in 1995 when things first started coming out online?
I was hanging out in AOL chat rooms.
Yeah. I remember another radio guy that we work with, Jim Wood, who will have him on one of these things, whether it's Happy Hour Radio Ranchcast, the guy that put KZ106 on the air. He was in town and got me online on AOL. I'll never forget it. It took forever, and it was, it finally happened.
And that sound that you waited for every day when you signed on, you've got mail.
Think about that nowadays. Think about that nowadays. Like, we get so many emails in a day. Imagine if every one of them that came through said, "You've got mail." I mean, now we're looking at it like, oh, there's another one. But we were so excited to get an email back then.
Yeah.
Email.
And Yahoo, man, what a memorable launch with their slogan. I mean,
great ad campaign.
Who hasn't sang that a few times over the years? Yahoo! Lots.
Great ad campaign. So, I remember Yahoo was like my first email address. I know a lot of people had the first AOL, and that's kind of the running joke that, you still got an AOL account. I know there's a couple of people in the building, I think, that still do. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember having that comment. It's kind of like Scott chasing his 3rd generation iPhone. It's, AOL.
It's right here. I'm still hanging on to it, by the way, too. Yeah. Is that, I still have people who walk up and go, "Man, is that the first one they made?" I said, "No, the first one. It was the first batch, though. It was the first batch they made." Yeah.
But I remember I've still got my Yahoo account. I haven't closed it down. I haven't checked it in forever. Lord knows what's in there at this point in time. But
probably an email from Columbia House.
When are you going to pay up? Pay up, Dodger.
We've accrued interest on all your charges, unfortunately. So here you go. You now owe us $55,000. Yeah, so it's always interesting. I remember I was at the University of Kentucky when the internet really started kind of coming in, and I remember kind of looking online for those first few years, even, and it's just like, okay, what are you looking at? It's like, you would go browse the library, and it would take forever for the website to come up, and it's just always we all complain about speed nowadays. Oh, my internet's so slow. My internet's so slow. Can you imagine anybody nowadays trying to go back and do work? If you went back in time, they would be just lost. Like, when is this thing gonna come? So I have to wait for the picture to load. It's like, how long does it take for it to come up? Just a strange experience all around.
And then you also had to get the second phone line because, if you were online, then you couldn't get calls on your home phone. And this was, pre-cell phone days. So, God forbid that there was an emergency or something because, you're online for, at least a good 2 hours because it takes at least an hour to get everything done. And, nobody else can use the phone. That was always a big bone of contention. So I actually had to pony up for my own private phone line so that I could be online when I wanted to and not disrupt the house phone.
So when did you drop your landline? How long's it been?
Oh, gosh.
A dozen years at least, probably, or more.
Oh, at least 20 for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's 2021.
I remember we hung on to it.
15 or so.
It was 423-622-6100. I still remember what it was too.
That.
Yeah. But I kept held on to it. I'm like, Julie, that thing never rings. And if it rings to somebody I really don't want to talk to, I think we can go ahead and get rid of it. And it was a big deal though, because it was the landline. It was the anchor. Yeah. This is, and then suddenly gone. Nothing. Kind of crazy.
It's funny, you go into vintage places now. You go to Dirty Jane's on Dayton Boulevard or something like that, and there's landline phones sitting there, and people are buying them as retro, kind of things. It's like, okay, that was.
What's the last phone book? Where's the last not phone book, but phone booth that you've seen? Phone booth. Phone book certainly never, Arlie, but phone booth. Have you seen a phone booth?
I haven't seen a booth. I've seen a pay phone, with a little shell around it, but not the actual booth where you open the door and get in it.
It's just astonishing to me when you start thinking about those things and the way that we've changed in the course of humanity and society over the last 20, 25 years, how things has grown and moved past. And it's kind of as we were talking, I was sitting there thinking, would you be okay with living without the internet? Not without social media, because I think anybody could say, yeah, I can do without that. But could you live without the internet at this point in time?
I don't know. That would be. That's I don't know.
We all did it. I mean, we figured out a way back then to do it, but at this point in time, if the internet just went boom, it's gone. I don't know. Think about the things
it certainly changed the way we do business. We'd have to go back to fax machines and
and World Book, Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. Try to explaining that to kids nowadays, by the way. Try to explain an encyclopedia to a 12-year-old right now. They're just like, what? You had a book? What if something changed and you had to update that book? Well, you got the updated version next year.
Yeah. You just buy another whole set.
The guy showed up at the door and you bought W next year because that's all you could afford. Shocking. But I don't know. Obviously things like this we wouldn't be doing if we didn't have the internet. There's for us just in business, our research and the way that we handle our daily lives, CDs and albums and things like that come back into the fold, MP3s, disappear or move around in a certain way. I don't know. I don't know that I could live without the entire internet at this point in time. Be a totally.
And is there a lot of junk on there that's not true? Yes, there is. But it's everything that's on there, everything that's not true. And then again, everything that is true. You just have to kind of sift through it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good, bad, and different, but I mean, it is just bad. It's different. Let's see.
Well, and I think a lot of since most of us have been working remotely or working from home or sheltering in place, however you want to say it, for the past year, it's kind of been our line to, other people. It's a way to communicate. So
That's an interesting thought too. That's one in itself. And if we had to live this year over without things like the internet, I don't know how that would. It would be completely different. I don't know how that would work. Honestly, we would be in a completely different world. We would be in the 1920s or whatever. I don't know. Not to get historical or too in depth or get too down on this, but it's like that's an interesting thought in itself. The last year without the internet.
But families years ago, they didn't have internet. They didn't have, well, I mean, I had 3 channels of TV when I was growing up, but there's, not very far before then, there was no TV, no TV. Now there's a zillion channels on TV. And how many times do you sit down and just really can't find anything you really want to watch? I mean, there are a couple of my go-to channels that I go to. I can usually find something I like, but live TV right now, tune it in. Am I just hard to please?
Or no. Yes. I thought we were going the other direction on that one. Sorry. That's something interesting too. I mean, we've all done that. I mean, even with cable. I mean, it's the old Springsteen song. 57
channels and nothing on. Yeah.
I mean, we how much you just sit there, flip until you find just the least common denominator and the most likable show possible. It's not like you enjoy it. It's just like, all right, I guess I'll stick on this. Not doing anything else.
Can either of you explain to me why there is a show on TV called Dr. Pimple Popper?
No,
I've never seen it. Do they actually pop pimples? Yes. They do, don't they?
Apparently so. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never watched. I can't. It's kind of like the Kardashians. I've never watched anything with them either. So
yeah, it's a thing.
And Georgia agrees with me, as you can hear. So.
All right, last thing on the way out. This is I wanted to ask this question because I saw this earlier today, and I don't know, Scott, you may have seen this going across some of the things that we look at each day. 86% of people say they will not or are scared of getting in a self-driving car. Are you okay with getting in a self-driving car?
Yes.
At any point. At any point.
I am. Yes, I am.
Daredevil.
I am.
Squarely in the 86%. No, thank you.
You're not gonna do it. No way. Nope.
Not until, I mean, not for years. There's no way I'm jumping in that prototype. Just not happening. I've seen too many science fiction movies. Too many where the robot turns back around and says, "Where would you like to go?" And then he drives off the cliff.
No
yeah.
Way. You Shall we play? No way.
On that note, hey, it's been another fun happy hour. Thank you everybody for checking in, Chris, Jason. Everybody else online that's been viewing and hanging out with us on this Friday. We'll do it again next Friday, another happy hour. This weekend, enjoy yourselves. The weather should be all right. A little cooler than it has been over the last couple of days, but yeah. Hey.
How warm is it going to be next week, Kelly? Did you say?
I saw somebody that said we could see 80 degrees for the first time next week.
My. How about that?
And
wow.
I was out running errands today and seeing all the trees that have popped open over the past couple of days. Yep. My daffodils in the front yard are in full bloom. So yeah, I think we can officially say that even though we've still got another quote unquote week or so of winter, spring's here.
Yeah, it is. I'm ready. Dig the dirt, plant some garden, hang out. I love the daffodils. Tomorrow would have been my dad's birthday, and that was probably his favorite flower. He loved, as he called them, not daffodils, March flowers. And he loved spring. He loved spring, that time of the year. And that was one of the things that really, really makes me think about him and remember him. It's right about now. And he was born right about the time that they're blooming. Well, guys, have a great weekend. Great talking to you. It was happy. It was definitely a happy hour.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Have an awesome weekend.
Enjoy the weekend.
See ya.